Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. So we did a video at the beginning of the channel that I thought was a pretty informative video where I talked about comic book collecting versus investing versus speculating. Because, I think one of the best things you can do before you buy any comic book is kind of identify the purchase as, is it a comic book investment, a comic book collector item, or like a comic book speculation? Because then, you're going to get the right expectations of sort of what to expect from the value of the book, sort of going into the future if you do that. Because, you certainly wouldn't want to kind of buy a, say, like a collector item comic book, sort of expecting an investment type return. And, we'll get into some examples of the three books I brought out here that are examples of each, I think. But, personally, I'm kind of, I buy all three type of books. I like to buy some CGC 9.8s from like a pure investment perspective almost. But then there's some where I'm like, wow, that cover's great and it's really cheap. Like, I just want it as a collector item and I don't really expect it to like do anything really except to kind of hold its value and provide a lot of pride of ownership. So, to me, that's almost enough. Like, you own the thing for 10 years and you love owning it and then you sell it for almost the same price. Like, to me, that is a collector item and that's like worth it to me. But going to be different for everyone out there. Like, I think like a lot of investment grade things are really expensive. So, you have to kind of keep that in mind. But, definitely, there's no right answer. It's basically like a very personal choice. Like, if are you just going to be a collector and buy a lot of things, or maybe be more selective and be on the investment end, or just be a speculator because you're a wheel and dealer kind of person, a gambler type of personality. So definitely a personal choice for how you want to go about comic book collecting. But let's get into my three examples because I got an example of a collector item, CGC 9.8, a speculative item, CGC 9.8, and an investment grade, CGC 9.8. So first book here, this is my collector item, CGC 9.8. It's a Batman number 450, a cover that I personally just love, and I do love Joker covers and Joker books. This is the brief origin of Joker, too, you get here, so it is somewhat of maybe a minor key issue, possibly, you can argue. This one being the newsstand version, too, so I was kind of pumped to kind of get the more rare newsstand version. It's a 1990s comic, so certainly, well-printed, I would think, this Batman issue. But a great Joker cover of the era. We'll look on the census. As I said, I think this is a good idea or a good example of a collector item. But on the census, it's just to get a little more context, 68 CGC 9.8. And it's 41.7% is the CGC 9.8 ratio. So of all graded copies, 41.7% of them are CGC 9.8s. So not really like particularly investment grade at all, like not a very rare ratio. So mentioned this was a collector item. And it did cost me about 75 bucks, this one, I think it was. Maybe in an auction you get this closer to like 60 or 50 to be honest, but there's only 68 out there, so, I've seen this periodically kind of in the 9.8s, and I think it does kind of sell for about 75, so certainly a little bit more than, like, just a straight non-key issue from this era of Batman, because, yeah, kind of a cool, just popular Joker cover. And, again, I really love Joker covers. I really like this. The next issue, 451, is a pretty cool Joker cover, too, but I just kind of chose this one to grab out of those two issues. And so as a collector item, I don't expect this to go up in value. I don't really think that, and if it was going to go up in value, it probably would have went up during that Joker movie. And to be honest, I didn't really see these heating up at all, really. So this is just a cover that I like. I'm not going to expect any crazy investment value out of it. I don't even think it's really a speculative book. It's just a book that I think, huge Batman and Joker fans will kind of liken to if they dig deep for sort of non-key issue Batman books, because you do get kind of the brief origin of Joker, so it is kind of a retelling of the origin with a great Joker cover. So maybe you can make an argument that the value might go up over time with this, but for me, a pure collector item, a good example in my CGC 9.8 collection of an item I don't really expect to go up in value or anything, but great pride of ownership. I'll probably sell it for a similar amount to what I bought it. And that, to me, is like a good example of a CGC 9.8 collector item. So the next book here we'll talk about, I think, is a really good speculative CGC 9.8 book. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 51 here. This is the first time Jennika appeared in Ninja Turtle comics, and she eventually becomes the female Ninja Turtle, the first female Ninja Turtle, or the fifth Ninja Turtle, with the yellow bandana. So it fits right in with the colors there. So, I mentioned this in the past here, a couple months on the channel here, recommending it as a good kind of modern book, I think, with an exciting first appearance with a lot of potential. Certainly, when I was grabbing these, they were pretty much under $100. And so, a decent example of a speculative book. Because, with speculative books, I think, you're sort of looking for those obscure first appearances that have a lot of potential, possibly. Because I think the only way a book will really pop in value and price is if it has a first appearance and then somehow that character gains more fans and more popularity, and then collectors want to go out and purchase the book. So, we'll look on the census here, though, for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 51. This is just in the first print here, which is a great cover that I really love, too, actually. I like the first print cover better than some of the other. There's like the retail incentive cover and the Fried Pies edition, I think there is one. But 43, CGC 9.8s in the blue label. When I was first recommending this on the video, there was like 15, 16, 17 CGC 9.8s, I think it was. So, and that was maybe 4 or 5 months ago when I first started recommending it. So now there's 43 CGC 9.8s in the blue label out there. 81% is the CGC 9.8 ratio. So of all graded copies, 81% of them are CGC 9.8s. So yeah, I was recommending this book right around that $100 level. I have since seen prices, people are paying over $200 for this book now, to be honest. A good deal on this book is like $150 to $170, I think, is the range in kind of an auction. Like if it just popped up and it went for kind of a fair market value price, I would think it would be $150 to $170. But I've seen people pay $230, I think it was the highest completed listing I've seen for this book now. So it goes to show how speculating can definitely be a part of, your comic book collecting. I think, you want to be selective. I don't think it should be a huge part, but, for me, it wasn't like I was just, shot in the dark. For me, first female Ninja Turtle here in this book, when you look at like NYX number 3, first X-23, female Wolverine essentially, and then, first, Edge of Spider-Verse number 2, first Spider-Gwen. Those books got really, really hot, first female versions of their character. So when this book was like $100, I'm like, hey, you know what, like, I'm just gonna grab a couple of these because, there's just evidence out there. Like, it wasn't just a shot in the dark. There's evidence out there that other female heroes have really taken off. So, and Ninja Turtles being such an iconic hero team and, such an iconic brand of the 80s for sure, I thought it was worth speculating on. So my sort of recommendation, I guess, for speculating would be to sort of, gather some facts or try to gather some legit reasons why, the book could be a good speculative book. Like even one now that I kind of think about that I don't have in the CGC 9.8 is the first female Iron Man, Riri Williams it was. I think that's Invincible Iron Man number 9. I think that's a really good kind of CGC 9.8 to possibly speculate on because MCU did so well with Iron Man. Obviously, it's a natural extension to kind of bring in the female Iron Man, and nobody's really talking about it, so it could just catch everyone off guard. And that book's like 130 something, I think I saw an auction go for that one. First Riri Williams. So, that's another one that comes to mind. That was, because, this book maybe now is getting to be sort of a full-priced modern first appearance that, I don't think you're really speculating on much if you're buying it over $200 in price at this point. For me, yeah, I think when I was purchasing it, I was like, if it can get anywhere near Spider-Gwen, first Spider-Gwen, which in the CGC 9.8 is about $400 bucks, let's call it. If this could get anywhere near there, I would just be so happy. So for it to kind of around seeing some sell for over $200, I think the speculation kind of paid off. So it shows that, hey, you do maybe want to consider and think about sort of more modern speculative books that might not be bread and butter investment grade books known sort of to collectors. Okay, so we had a collector item, a speculative item, and really just kind of bread and butter investment grade book, I think, is Amazing Spider-Man 300. Really great example of an investment grade book in the CGC 9.8. Yeah, we'll look on the census. Like there's 1,002 CGC 9.8s in the blue label. 5.8% is the CGC 9.8 ratio, and that's going lower actually. So there's a lot of these being graded still, and that CGC 9.8 ratio is going lower. It was 5.9%. You know, when I did a video kind of 2 months or 3 months ago on this Amazing Spider-Man 300. So the lower the better with CGC 9.8 ratio. So of all graded copies of this book, only 5.8% of them are CGC 9.8s. That's super low. And when you think about an investment grade book, I think you really got to focus on like the facts and the evidence. So this book, the evidence, that 5.8% CGC 9.8 ratio is one of the lowest in the late 80s, certainly. The only really 80s book that I know that's more rare is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, which was kind of a one-off from an independent studio, so it almost doesn't even count for this book. But so rare for a late 80s book in the CGC 9.8. And when you're buying investment books, you like to have those, like I don't think there's any CGC 9.8 ratio in late 80s books that is lower than 5.8%. So that's just another way of saying this is the most rare CGC 9.8 book from the late 80s that you can buy. And so it's just super rare in the super high grade. Another thing, it's got first appearance of like a really iconic sort of hero, anti-hero villain. Certainly Venom's kind of become an anti-hero, I think. So you got that on your side, that first appearance. And another thing is, you know, this cover just being homaged so many times. Classic cover, classic artist. You know, big first appearance. Looks great on the census. It's got that super low CGC 9.8 ratio. So that's the kind of evidence and facts that I would focus on when you're trying to buy investment grade books. And yeah, certainly in the CGC 9.8, you do want to look at that CGC 9.8 ratio. Like that's, the lower that is, the more rare the books are, the more coveted by collectors they are, basically. So a really good example of an investment grade book. And for investment grade books, yeah, you want to kind of focus on the facts, focus on those classic, iconic first appearances. And in the CGC 9.8 books, the CGC 9.8 ratio is really important, and it pretty much correlates with price. Like the lower the 9.8 ratio, the more rare the book is, the higher the price is in the CGC 9.8. Okay, so we went over kind of 3 examples. So hopefully, you know, whenever I know a lot of people are buying raw books out there and all that too. And, you know, I would say the mark of a collector really is you have a lot of books, a lot of long boxes. You can't help yourself. You just love art, comic books so much that you just buy almost everything. That's, you know, I try to be more selective than a sort of pure collector, but I'm definitely a combination of both. And just concluding up here, so I think, you know, investment grade books are great. I think you do pretty much want to focus on those type of books for the most part. But I think what's a really great book, too, is sort of a combination between a speculative and a collector item. Because then you can buy a book as a speculation, maybe it's a cool first appearance, but if you really like the cover and the art, then you're going to get a good pride of ownership from it no matter what. So you can kind of live if the speculation doesn't turn out. Like, you're just, okay, you know what, like, maybe this first appearance didn't take off like I thought, like, 5 years later, it's still going for the same price. But you know what? I love the cover, and it's a great collector item, and I've always loved the art. So for me, there's kind of 2 books that, you know, I know there's kind of 3 things we started talking about, but there are 2 books. You want to buy investment grade books, and then I think a great book to kind of buy is our speculative collector items that you really like the art, you really are drawn to the cover for some reason, yet it has a great first appearance, and maybe you can speculate on that first appearance gaining more popularity. So yeah, you know, I kind of wanted to keep it broad because you know, you'll get out there and kind of choose whatever you like the most, and you can speculate on whatever first appearances you think are cool. And I think going back to the original point though, when any comic book you buy, one of the best things you can do is really like, am I buying this as a collector item, an investment item, or a speculation? And then that's going to set the right expectations, and you won't get frustrated if you don't want to buy a collector item expecting investment type returns and then get frustrated and all that. So got to be honest with yourself, but it's definitely better than buying every comic book you buy just going, oh my god, the price is going to soar with this because I love it right now. And like that is pretty much a recipe for letdown and maybe a bit of frustration. So, you just want to be realistic and buy what you love. And but I think, ending up here, identifying every book that you buy as a collector item, an investment item, or a comic book speculation. Those three things, I think, just helps when you're collecting and sets the right expectation, and hopefully makes the experience a lot better. Because I've had those feelings where I think maybe I expected too much from a certain book when I was first starting out collecting, and it kind of frustrated me. But luckily, it didn't turn me off completely to the hobby, so I wouldn't want anyone out there to kind of have that happen to them. Alright, I think we'll wrap it up there. If you haven't already, I'd invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8 and hit the bell to get all the latest notifications. Add me on Instagram and Twitter too. So, really glad I could revisit this older video. And I guess I'll put the link of the older video in the section below. I think we went at it from a bit of a different angle back then, so it might be worth it to watch both of them, possibly. Alright, thanks so much for watching today, though, and definitely subscribe if you haven't already. Love to have you on the comic book collecting team here at Team CGC 9.8. Thanks again, though, for watching and all the support, all the comments. Message me on Instagram, too, if you want. But thanks again. I'll see you on the next video.